One. Hello, everyone. This is Reed Kastner-Lang, host of Dharma Unfiltered, episode 17. 17 coming in from Dowsman, Wisconsin, Kettle Moraine Golf Course. Yep, we got Dylan Tolson on the Zoom call today. I think this is going to be a pretty cool conversation, as with most of these conversations, but this one's going to be different because Tolson brings some different things to the table, I think. He has a very, very good understanding of music. He probably understands music better than probably like anyone I know. So I think we'll probably end up talking a lot about music, kind of culture in Wisconsin especially, and also kind of subcultures within it. So honestly, like my relationship with Dylan Tolson, we kind of became friends like last year, beginning of senior year, when we had the drawing from life together. And it was like all freshmen and sophomore, and we just started talking and stuff, and talked about music a ton. So Tolson, just kind of introduce yourself, tell the listeners, viewers, kind of the different things that they should know about you, just to kind of have a good understanding of that. And we'll
So my name's Dylan. Me and Reed have been going to school together since I think 6th grade. I've always lived in Wales, Wisconsin, just small town, nothing really special about it. A bunch of pretty much rich white people, so it's not very diverse out here. But I now go to the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, and it's pretty good there. COVID kind of messes everything up, but it messes up shit for everybody everywhere. So it's just kind of the reality.
Yeah. So how is that, like, just being in Milwaukee? Like, how is that, like, because I know for me, like, just kind of putting myself into that different environment helped, like, open my eyes to more things. And yes, like, things are limited because of COVID, but would you say that kind of your perspective has shifted a little bit just with that shift in where you're living and a kind of new group of people?
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely a switch up in the setting, obviously. The people are different. I don't know, it's a completely different experience from what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mind it. I was excited for it. It's nice to get out of this little small town and actually meet some interesting people and be in a, city. There's pros and cons to it. Pretty much, a lot of Milwaukee's dangerous, especially at night. And, the streets by us, it doesn't right outside our campus, in our campus, right outside the dorm building, there's people get pistol whipped, and then there's robberies and
Really? It's
the
like
stores
kind of
by
in a
us and
bad area?
stuff all the time. Oh yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad area. We're right next to Shorewood, but pretty much anywhere you go in Milwaukee, you're risking it. But I mean, that could be said about anywhere. There's nothing in my street. It's all just a bunch of old people, and the houses got broken into probably a month ago. So I mean, no matter where you go, you're not technically always safe.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's definitely interesting to.
I read something in a book, and
Huh?
they're talking about. I read something in a book. It was talking about like New Orleans, and it was interesting perspective. It was like, it was so basically, if you ask the locals, like, where are the bad area, like what areas should I avoid? Where are the bad areas? This kind of applies to anywhere. They say, there's good and there's good and bad areas and bad and good areas everywhere. So like there's good to be found even in somewhat, like, you could say, like, bad.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And kind of
Right.
reflecting
Because
on it. Yeah, go ahead.
you can learn a lot and from a lot of different people, especially in those areas. They grow up in a different environment than you. They experience different stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was just kind of talking about the importance of observing. Yesterday I had a conversation with my friend who was like, oh, somebody told me I was intimidating. I don't like, when people tell me that. I've had a couple other people tell me that. And I was like, I think it's because you just kind of sit back and observe. You don't really put yourself out there to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of do the same thing. Like I'll end up at a party or whatever, and I'll kind of stick with whoever I went with for the first like half hour.
Yeah.
And then, I'll start talking to people, and, I'll spend a lot of time in that first half hour, just kind of like paying attention to who's there, what's
Mhm.
going on, how people act, the stuff people say. And from there, I decide whether I even want to engage with them or not. And then, I'll go talk to them. Um, and most of the time, being able to sit there and observe, I can tell whether it's going to be a conversation that's worth it. And, um, I just think it's important to be able to like it helps me like socially engage with like multiple different people, and I think it's an important skill to have.
Mhm. Yeah, I think COVID has been interesting in that it's kind of shaped like I guess the social scene in general. Like I'm thinking, like I'm trying to think the last time I even like went to a party. Like I mean, there just weren't like there's not parties
Yeah,
happening.
they're hard to come across. It's
Yeah,
not a very I don't
like
know.
I think my grad party was like probably like or like Cole's party, before I went down to Miami was probably like the last one. But yeah, no, like when I first started like kind of in the party scene and stuff, like junior year, like I was like always just like the crazy motherfucker who's like just like absolutely gone, like talking to like everyone and stuff. But that's like changed like dramatically now. Like I'm like with you because like if I do go to a party or something, I usually stay like really, really close with like the people that I came with. And because like, I don't know, it's definitely interesting to have those different conversations. But what I've found in college and what I've spoke about in the past on this podcast is like a lot of the time those conversations I think more so in college than even high school tend to be somewhat dry, like because
Yeah.
no one knows each other, so there's not like that much to necessarily talk about. Like, you know what
Well,
I mean?
that's the thing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's important to me to like when I'm sitting there and like just like, kind of like looking on what they're talking about. Um if they're just talking about something that's like not even anything, and you can just tell that they're like being fake with everybody because they're drunk or whatever, it's not worth it. Um, like I'll usually um I I guess the nice thing that I have is that it's natural for me to be able to talk to pretty much anybody that I want to.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people don't have that skill, and it's lucky that I do. I've always been able to have good interactions with anybody, like in high school wise, like whether it be like the popular kids or like what just other kids that are not so popular, I guess. I never had a problem with engaging with anybody. I was at a good level, and the best part about that is that you get like a full experience. You get to see everybody's point of view, and it I think it's super important to be able to understand like the different types of people around you.
Yeah. And that's something that I think that me personally, I was like craving more of that come the end of senior year because like we had known all these kids for so long. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah, especially like that's what I was excited for too. I was hoping that COVID wouldn't completely destroy it, but it kind of did.
yeah. Yeah, it's weird because like you would think that kids talking to kids from like all around the country and stuff. I don't know. Are a lot of the kids are would you say like what percent of the kids at UWM are from Wisconsin?
Um, for the most part, a lot of them. It's been weird for me to meet people because I live in the upperclassmen dorms, and the majority of upperclassmen who live in dorms post freshman year aren't the most sociable people.
Yeah.
So, um, it's been hard to meet other freshmen, but
Yeah.
from the people that I have met, a lot of them are from Wisconsin. Some of them are from Illinois, but that's still the same Midwest perspective on everything. It's not really anything different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It for me it's like the majority of kids come from like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. And um like I thought that there would be a lot to gain in conversation from that, but a lot of them are very similar. It's weird. The East Coast vibe is very weird because it's like all the money is there. Like all the richest people live in
Right.
like Long Island, New York. And like I met some really cool
Mhm.
people from there, but I also met a lot of kids that seem like mirror images of each other. That it's like I feel like
Yeah, and that's like
a conversation over and over again.
it's a very common thing now. Like you'll go to like these parties or kickbacks or whatever, and I'll meet like 5 of the same people in like a month, and I'm like it's like I don't know. And then there's like 4 people at the same party who are all the same person, and they think they're different, but they give you the same conversation you've already had. You're not learning anything from them, and it's just like,
Yeah.
wow, interesting. I don't care.
Where are you from? What's your major? Oh my God, I'm so sick of that.
What?
The conversation. Where are you from? What's your major?
Oh,
Like that's everything.
yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing because like we don't at UWM like the where you from question, it doesn't really pop up too much. I think that like that's more of something that you'd experience because like you said, like you've said before, Miami is like people go to Miami for a reason. Like they want to go, somewhere. Like people who live in like California aren't going to be like, oh, I really want to go to Milwaukee for college. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to be their first choice.
Mhm.
So that question doesn't pop up too much. The what's your major question pops up all the time, and it's just like I don't know. I feel like we could have cooler conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like I just like don't care that much about your
School. Yeah. And like kids talking about like I just don't want to talk about school. Like I'm at
right.
like a dinner conversation in the dining hall and kids are talking about like tests and I'm like I don't want to talk about
It feels like high school. It feels like high school. It feels like going to lunch and be like, dude, oh my God, I just bombed that test. It's like, cool, so did I. We're all failing. Well,
well, that's part of it. It's
but
like I
yeah,
the high school thing. It's like I got down to Miami and it felt like it was like high school all over again in a lot of sense. Like to the point where I don't even necessarily
yep,
want to put myself in that party environment. Really, like I'd rather spend time with a few of like my closer friends because I just wasn't getting anything out of it.
yeah,
Like I got
right.
more. I
And I
got.
think
Go ahead.
that's I think that's super important. It's really important to like realize that. Because a lot of people they'll never understand it. They'll just kind of keep going. You need to surround yourself with people that are like growing and expanding, not just partying all the time. Like you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah. The majority of people I think look at college like these are the best 4 years of my life and like I just don't want that to be the case. Like
Exactly.
I want this to
Yeah.
set me up for the rest of my life and the rest of my life will be the best years of my life. Um
Right.
like I just don't and part of that is like in meeting the right people. Like I'm not gonna meet the right people if I'm putting myself in an environment of people that just want to party. Like that's not the type of
Yeah.
people I necessarily want to be around.
Right. And I think that has to do a lot with like most people say that like it's not so much like what you learn from college, it's the connections you make
Mhm.
and like the people you meet. I think that like really that's true.
Yeah,
Um yeah.
but really try to go like I've been trying to go all in on that, like in trying to find the right connections. And I think you do that just by doing what you want to do. And an interesting thing that I've talked about, like with my roommate and stuff,
Yeah.
is like when there's these bigger, like I think it's especially a freshman year thing. Like there's a freshman bar that like everyone went to, and like everyone does what everyone does, so everyone kind of follows like people would say like, oh, where's everyone going? Like everyone, all the freshmen would go to like the same bar or
Yeah.
club. Like it's like high school. Like, oh, are we all going to the football game and then to a party? It's like
Right. Yeah, well, I get that, especially because in your case where it's like, no, I don't think anybody from our grade went to Miami with you. Oh well, I mean, Evan's down there, but Evan's not at school with you, right?
Yeah, he's virtual like this whole year.
Right. So I think that a lot of these kids are coming to Miami from all these different areas and they don't know anybody. They don't have anybody they went to high school with. And the best thing that they can do is cope by what's everybody else doing? What's my roommate doing? I
Mhm.
can't figure out something for myself. And I think that's fine for the first week or, couple maybe the first month or something, just to kind of figure out what's going on and what's up with people and, actually meet a couple friends or something.
Mhm.
But when you live your entire, first year or even your for 4 years there, just following what everybody else is doing, you're gonna find yourself in a position of when you graduate of holy shit, what did I do for 4 years and what am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
There's nobody to follow. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, I think I got kind of lucky actually. Like I was kind of forced out of that situation because I got COVID and then I moved in and my roommate got COVID. So like I had the room to myself for the first week. So I had to just like make it happen. Like I had to just
Yep,
like
you just
walk.
got to do it.
And like the first night, like I just hit like I was snapping some kids on campus and stuff, and I just like hit up this one kid, and we just like met up, and like I just like went to this one room, and they had like beer pong set up and everything, and I'm like, I just was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, okay, this is my first real like experience of college, and is this really how I want to spend my time in college?
Yeah,
I feel like there's better ways to spend it. And
true.
because I wasn't there that first week, like the first week of college, and what I heard is like everyone was just like literally going up and down the elevator to different floors, like talking
Yep,
to,
and that's how you meet people. Elevator. I met so many people in the elevator.
or the bathroom the first like couple weeks. Oh, well, we have like a communal bathroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We lucked out. I got granite countertops in my dorm room bathroom, no big deal.
That's actually nice, dude.
It's
My
insane.
dorm
It's
was
so
like,
nice.
yeah. But
But
I kind of like it. I like the another thing that I really like about college is just like the dorm life. I love it. Like I don't care. I didn't like I never really once missed like a house. Like I enjoyed having my whole life like in front of me and not having to worry about a car or like the yard or like a
that's
house.
true. That's nice. Um, I don't know. I guess like I said, I lucked out. Mine's almost like an apartment. I got my own room. I have two suite mates. I have my own room.
Mhm.
We have our own bathroom that we share, and we have a full kitchen. So I kind of lucked out um, with that. I mean, I really only have I kind of only have to really worry about getting groceries. It's not a that's pretty much it. It is nice.
So do you cook all your food or do you have a meal plan?
Um, so UWM's kind of shit. They closed down our cafeteria.
What?
So it hasn't been open all year. And the way that the dorms work is there's a central area where I don't know, it then there's four buildings around it, and there's north, east, south, and west towers, and east is the only upperclassman one, and east is the only one with the kitchen, and so basically everybody else is just kind of screwed. There's no cafeteria. Yeah, you can eat ramen in your microwave in your room, but how long is that gonna last?
Yeah.
And then there's a little almost gas station kind of store downstairs, which pretty much has any snack and stuff, but still, I wouldn't want to eat just that for a semester. So yeah, we basically kind of cook for the most part.
Do you think you're gonna stay at? Do you think you're gonna stay there? Have you thought at all about like going out of state?
Yeah, so I was gonna bring that up because when we were talking about how college feels just like high school again, um, I toured a couple schools in the state. I don't think I toured anything out of state.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember when I toured Madison, And I remember just like going there and being like, maybe my brother went here. He graduated in like 3 years. He was really good for himself. He enjoyed it. But I stepped foot on campus and I was like on the tour and like it was just like right away I was like, I don't like it. I didn't like the people because like we had to do like a little icebreaker thing. It was like, oh, where are you from? What do you love? Yeah, right. I love icebreakers. They're so enjoyable. But anyways, immediately I was just like, I don't like these people. I don't like this campus. It's too big. These people are all the same as high school. It's just like it just didn't feel right. And um I think I kind of just settled with Milwaukee because I didn't have a major. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to go. I just knew I needed to go to school. And I was like, okay, I'll just go to Milwaukee, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. I think I would definitely be more interested in going out of state. I'm so sick of being stuck in Southeast Wisconsin. Like, it's just like, there's like, I've seen it all here. There's nothing left. The majority of the people are the same. The majority of the experiences are like pretty much the same. Granted, it's a little bit different in Milwaukee from Wales, obviously, but we still share that like common Midwest, like Southeast Wisconsin culture. Like I don't know. It's just, I don't know how much more I can handle of it.
I know that was like the main factor. Like I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I just said I just want to get out of here. Like I just want to do like the opposite of here. And
I know I can't. It's so boring.
yeah. Well, you have that. Like, do you think that's an option for you, like to transfer somewhere out of state?
Yeah. I'm lucky to be able to be financially supported enough to where I would be able to pay for something like that. I'll definitely be in debt for a while, which will be nice to pay off student loans and stuff, but I'm going to be in student loan debt anyways. Yeah, I think I would like to go to Colorado. I took a trip there in May, I think, and I kind of just left for like 3 weeks, didn't tell a lot of people, deleted all my social media, and I like went sober, and it was kind of like one of the craziest experiences of my entire life. It was super cool. Like I would wake up every day at 7 a.m., lay in bed till 8, eat breakfast, do my homework, work out, shower, go on a hike, or like go ride my bike into like Boulder or just do something. Like it was such a cool, I don't know. It was just nice to get away from here. And it was nice to kind of like reset myself and I don't know, take a break.
Now imagine living there.
Exactly. One of the weird things about Colorado were the people are kind of weird. They give off like, I don't know. They're just weird to talk to. They're like almost rich, entitled hippies. And like they treat it like it too. Like you can tell when you talk to them, they're cocky, but I don't know if it's just like being used to that like Midwestern nice thing because that's like a stereotype. But I don't know. I would definitely like to go there.
Yeah, I think kind of what I've found. So another quote that I read, sometimes you got to leave what you know to figure out what you know. So like leave what you're so accustomed to, and then you're forced to kind of look inward. And that's kind of like what you kind of experienced in Colorado.
It was super nice.
Yeah. And then kind of that realization for me after being in Miami for the first couple of days, I'm like, damn, I live here now. Like, and
yeah, I know.
Like you're almost like you can. I feel like just like the geographically, like still being in Wisconsin, it's like kind of limiting, like right, like whereas if you put yourself in a completely different environment, a completely different like climate, state,
right,
type of people, you really start to figure out like yourself and like the value that you bring and like and also it's made me appreciate Wisconsin a lot more.
Oh yeah,
big time.
Yeah, I think what you just said about how like you can only do so much in like Southeast Wisconsin. I don't know. I think it's very important. You go to Miami, which is like it's a central hub. Like Miami is a place to like I don't know,
You can do anything.
expand a business, promote yourself. Like, you don't see influencers hanging out in Delafield, Wisconsin. Like they're in California somewhere, they're in New York, they're somewhere, in Europe, Miami. And, in terms of music, especially, like, think about it. When looking at Wisconsin, what artists can you really think of? There's Ishtar, and, Ishtar's good, but, even outside of rap, like, what Wisconsin artists are really known?
I know it's weird. Like, wouldn't you think there would be more?
Yeah, which is interesting because, like, Milwaukee's, like, main music genre is rap, and, like, the subgenre they go for is, like, drill music usually, which is kind of just biting off Chicago. But I mean, they're pretty close. Like, they're pretty close cities. But you can only do so much in Southeast Wisconsin. There's like I said, I mean, like I said, there's not too many artists, not too many people who have really made it for themselves out here from what I've seen.
Mhm.
So,
And I feel
yeah.
like just that alone is limiting, like not being able to see people that have made it out of
Yeah.
Wisconsin really it's like fuck, like that, like no one else has done it.
Yeah. Nobody else is doing it. So how can I do it? And it's, yeah.
And that's why it's so important to like really find like that, like a group of people that's gonna help you do it, because we're gonna do it. Like you need to, like I feel the need to do it. Like
Mhm.
I feel the need to do more than the status quo.
Right. And I think that's why, like, a lot of artists, there are some artists, who have, like, had the ability to, actually make a name for themselves in their city. Um, I know, like, Night Lavelle, definitely, one of his big things is talking about how he's from Ontario and nothing ever happens in Ontario, and all the rappers from Canada are from Toronto, Drake, The Weeknd, and whatever. And, like, he's trying to, like, actually, like, rep for his home. And same with, like, Jack Harlow. Um, dude's always been super big about, what is it, Kentucky,
I'm not
right?
sure.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's Kentucky. But you just dropped this album, and then dude goes and gets a big ass chain of Kentucky, and, like, that's, it's possible to, I'm not saying that it's definitely impossible to, like, make a name for yourself in Wisconsin, but doing it from the ground up, especially when, you haven't seen other people do it from your area, definitely makes it a lot harder.
And I feel like there's like this like underlying sense of being stuck here. Like
Mm-hmm.
most of the people here like have lived here their whole life.
Yeah, I know.
Have lived here, and it's like I recognize that from like a young age. I'm like, I don't know where I just want to leave. I just want to, so like yes, it's hard to make it out. So like realize that and say, okay, like I'm gonna put myself in this other environment, and this might accelerate like my growth and like give me different opportunities. Because the other thing is, like, we're Wisconsin natives, so to other Wisconsin natives, we're just Wisconsin natives. But Wisconsin native means a totally different thing when you're in Miami. Like,
Right.
Wisconsin is like well known. When I tell people that I'm from Wisconsin, I mean, they have a lot more to say than if I said I'm from Minnesota or Indiana or Iowa. Like in the
Right.
Midwest, like Wisconsin's actually pretty like well known and stuff. But
What do the
like
majority of people say to you, like, when you say Wisconsin?
they make fun of my accent, or yeah, just like stereotypical shit, because that's all they
Cheese, beer, and
yeah.
fucking farming.
But I view it so much like I view Wisconsin so much like deeper. Like I look at it like you can look at it like very like negative, because and that's how I did like before I left, because it was like all I knew and I was so fed up with it. I'm like, there's got to be more, and there is. And then but like I come back and I'm like, these are some of the most genuine hardworking people.
Yeah.
And that's just something that you just don't find elsewhere. Like I found a lot of like Miami, the city is like full of a lot of fakes and the campuses too. And I just wasn't used to that. Like most of the people that even I guess like the popular group, like obviously I think in my opinion was a little bit more superficial than the people that I chose to hang out with in high school. But even them, like they were realer than a lot of these like East
It's
Coast.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't doubt it. And that's why I think it's important to talk to people because, you get a sense of what's going on. But yeah, I don't know. I,
Um,
could switch it up and talk about music.
yeah.
So I know we've had this conversation a couple times, but what is your problem with Playboy Cardi?
Bro, I've got a problem with him. It's just like that picture just like threw me off.
So is it just was just that one post or was it just like
I never had a problem with him. I listened to him. Like I've like I listened to him in the past. I was never like a huge fan of him, but yeah, that post threw me off. And then I heard the album. I heard a few songs, and I just didn't really enjoy it.
that's fair? I just like there's I mean not even with just Cardi, like you go on Instagram or whatever, Twitter, like somebody will drop an album 10 minutes later, the album can be like an hour and a half. 10 minutes later, this is dog shit. You made us wait for this, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then there's like all the memes and like whatever, right? And I think that that culture is really interesting because people just build off of other people's shit. You go on Instagram and like you see like somebody else you follow go, oh, I fucking hated a whole lot of red. It sucked. It was garbage. And then you start to form like that opinion too. I think too many people don't sit down and see if they appreciate it. They like go to social media and just kind of hop on the bandwagon of whatever is going on. And that's not even just for music, that could be for sports and movies and shows and whatever too.
Yeah. In my business law class, my business law professor asked us what are the most prevalent problems of our like generation, like for our generation to like solve. And like of course, like everyone's saying like what you think they would say, like climate change, racial tensions. I said group thought because especially like in the age of social media, like you're saying, like people tend to think the exact same way, and like people have an inability to think for themselves when they're constantly like on their phone or like consuming other people's thoughts. I think it's so important just for people to like give yourself time to just like process things on your own, because that's what makes the world go around, like people's new opinions, like
Right.
innovation.
Yeah. People are scared to like, put themselves out there. And that's what like a lot of like artists do, so like all those leaks that went around for Cardi for like 2 years, like Kid Cudi and Molly and all that shit. Like he knew that like people wanted those and he purposely did not put them on the album because he wanted to give them something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then people got something new and they got all pissed off because they didn't get what they fucking wanted. But when artists drop music like that, a lot of times at the time people shit on it and then it grows to be a classic. Like the same thing happened with Die Lit. I know a lot of that's happened with like Kanye albums. Like it grows on people. It's shit at first because it's something new. It's not what they want. It's not what they're used to. And I think that's why it's so important to put out new material into the world and let other people consume it.
Yeah. And I think I also think it's funny and interesting that like all the people that take time out of their day to go like shit on like album or something, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like go talk shit about like Playboy Cardi and shit. I'm just gonna like answer, like I'm just gonna say what I think, like in person and stuff, like in conversation, but I'm not gonna go
Right.
out of my way and go write a paragraph on Twitter and like shitting on like you gotta have your priorities way out of whack if you're taking time out of your day to shit on some artist. What it's like, what the fuck is that person doing? What are you doing? You're sitting
Exactly. Like,
on your phone talking shit about someone else's work. Why don't you create something better?
yeah. And that's what, like, I saw somebody tweet that at them. They were like, you could do better. Like, no matter whether you think, an album's shit or not, most likely it's going to be better than what you can do.
Yeah.
So prove them wrong. I don't know. They're making more money than you.
Yeah.
They're doing something right.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just about like creation. Like they're honestly creating something that most people might not think is that good, is still better than not creating at all, in my opinion. Like, because it's for your own sake. Like, I feel like just like even like this podcast, like it just makes me feel like so good just putting stuff out into the world, whether it be music or for the YouTube videos or podcasts or whatever it is, like feeling like you're actually
Contributing.
yeah, you're contributing. And that's the new age contribution, like content creation is that.
It's in your face all the time, especially with social media. Like our parents didn't grow up in that at all. Like now everything's so in your face, and I don't know. It definitely makes it weird. But I think that we kind of grew up in a time where like that's pretty much all we've ever known.
Mhm.
You know, um,
But it's a like Gary V always talks like Gary V on like Instagram, like he always
yep,
talks about like the answer to like almost anything is like create content, whether you're like creating a business and you're trying to market it, like it's all about relevancy, right? So like the more
right,
content, the more times like people see your Instagram post or your like Spotify song or whatever it is, like the more relevant you become like in their mind. um so like he'll say like he talks to like rappers sometimes and he's just like, just create more songs. Like you never know what song might end up blowing up. Like you just
right.
don't know unless you create it.
Yeah, and I don't remember what song it was or what album it was, but I remember it was some song this year, but one of the biggest songs this year blew up, and I remember like hearing an interview with them, and they were like, "We weren't even gonna put that on the album. Like that was like a throwaway song. Like we didn't even care about it." And then it was like huge.
Mhm.
So you never like I think it's important to create a lot and then maybe dwindle down into like what you think might be your best.
Mhm.
But even taking risks is important because you don't know what's gonna come of it.
Mhm. And that's kind of my thinking on just like wanting to create this like studio down here, because it's like I went to Evan's friend Jake's house in Menominee Falls, and he has like this whole like studio set up in his basement, and like he's created like 900 songs, and like they just do it like he's like a financial advisor and he just like does it for fun. Like I just saw that as like super interesting, because like he would only like play like his songs when we were there, and I just thought it was cool. Like you're creating literally your own like world, like you're
Yeah.
and like I feel like
Speaking of your own experiences and stuff.
yeah, and a lot of people I think are scared to rap. Like there's so many, I can think of so many people that would be like no, or like even on coming on the podcast, they would just be like, no, I'm not doing that, because they care about what other people think. I don't give a fuck. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like half the people I even like would even care about like what they thought in high school. I don't talk to them. I never see them. I probably won't see them till fucking a reunion. And even if I decide to go to that, like I don't give a shit at this point. Like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. What does Drake say about high school reunion? They better get the security or something, because
Oh yeah. Fuck. I don't remember. I don't
um,
know.
no,
But
it's like I agree, because like I was hearing all this stuff by Gary Vee saying like create content, create content, create content, but in high school, and like subconsciously like
you're trying to, but you're like, there's like something blocking you.
and that's something blocking me, I think, was like me actually caring about what people thought, and like kind of like
Yeah.
especially like the physical, like having to like physically go to school and like potentially people saying stuff like that was like scary to me. And then getting out of high school, like I was like, okay, like I'm basically creating like a whole new person. Like
Yeah.
nobody, like I get to Miami, nobody knows who I am. Every single thing that comes out of my mouth is my new reputation. I thought like, fuck yeah, this is dope.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in middle school definitely caring about what other people thought, even early high school. But like I got to a point of where like I think I don't think that's just me. I think a lot of people definitely did.
Ever and ever.
Um, and I got to the end of high school pretty much, junior and senior year, and I was like, why? Like, what fucking impact are these people gonna have? And I up until I stopped caring more and more and more, but there was always a level, at least somewhat, that still did until I got out of high school. And I think that like it kind of like it just limits you. There's very few people in high school who could, just be like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm gonna show up in this. I'm gonna look like this. I'm gonna say this stuff. I'm gonna act like this, and this is like not care what anybody else says completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to like group thought. Like when everyone's thinking on the same wavelength, there's no room for growth or new ideas. Like
right.
scary. It's like, and it doesn't end. It never changes. Like it doesn't change when you get to college. It doesn't change when you get out of college. If you're
I
part
know.
of
Yeah.
that, like it's like it's the matrix. Literally, it's like we have been taught that, and humans have evolved to this point where we're like, okay, this is just what you do. Like you go to school from kindergarten through 12th grade, and then you go to 4-year college, and then you
Right.
become an accountant. Like
Yeah, and
what
that's like such an
impact are you
American
having on
thing.
the world? Like what impact are you having on the world as an accountant? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
but you're an accountant though.
Yeah, you be making money.
Yeah. Well, that's such like I feel like that's also like such an American thing. Like I don't know. I feel like America's always been known as just like a powerhouse for just working. Like like you said, you're born, okay, school, go get a degree. You need it, otherwise you're gonna be fucked. All right, now go get a job that you're probably gonna hate, and then you're gonna be depressed for the rest of your life. And that goes back to where you said, I don't want college to be the best 4 years of my life. Fuck that. Like I think it's so important to like remember that like I don't know, you got like you're gonna be here until you're probably like 80, 85. Like make the best of it for the rest of your life. Don't get caught up in like, oh, my mom told me I should go be a doctor because she's a doctor, and now I have to impress her with my grades, otherwise she won't pay for my college.
Create your
You're
own.
doing what you're dude, you're doing what your mom did. Like create your own thing. Do yourself. Like
I know. I know. The thing is, it seems so obvious to us, but like people, like you can say this shit, and you'll just get this like glazed over look in their eyes.
yeah,
Like
they're like, yeah, bro, I get you.
they're like
Oh,
facts.
do you? Do you?
They're like
Yeah,
facts.
they're like bet, bro, but big bet, bro.
Me and Kyle would like count how many times we got responded to with like bet facts. Like, it's so funny.
Dude,
Like that's what everyone is like.
bro, facts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like these people are robots. I feel like
Oh
I'm
my God.
simulation.
And that's part of my other thing. Like when I talk to these people, sometimes I will talk to people that I know I won't get anything out of just for pure entertainment. I can go up to them and I'll start having a conversation with them and be like, oh, bro, you fuck with Drake? Yeah, bro. I've been fucking with Drake for like ever. And you're like, I look at these people sometimes, I look at them and I go, wow, I can't believe I'm like, you're a real person. Like,
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. And these are your responses.
I know.
And it's fun.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of there's fakes, man.
and it's all that it's that whole like herd sheep bandwagon mentality. They're all the same fucking person.
I know. You gotta escape. You're not gonna do shit in your life if you don't escape.
Facts.
Like, but it's the truth. Like,
it really is. And it's so hard to like you said, like you tell it to these people and they'll just look at you and be like, yeah, bro, I'm definitely different, bro.
I know.
I'm sure you are.
I'm like, okay, do some work then.
Yeah, right.
Do something like, and then like people think like because we've been taught that like grades are like an indication of like winning, like they think that that's the same way like in college, and like they think, oh, I just have to get good grades in school and I'll be set. Like I'm
Shit, now it's just like it's passing to me. Like good grades were important to me in high school just so I could get into like a good college. But now it's just like actually like absorbing the material, learning it, and whether I do good on or bad on a test doesn't really affect it unless I like fail the class. At this point, I'm here to get a diploma and like whatever. They're not gonna like employers aren't gonna look up your fucking grades for college. They want to just see that you have a diploma and that you're qualified.
Yeah. So it's like when the only thing you're doing is school, like your whole world is school. Like, I mean, like you make music, and like me, like I like when you have other things going on, you have like a much like more realistic like view of like the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this, like you're not in this just
trapped in the bubble.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that it took me, like once I got to school and I woke up and I'd wake up every day and I'd like look at my Mac, because that's where I make most of my music. I'd wake up and it'd be the first thing I saw and I'd be like, fuck, I'm not spending all day doing school. Like I should just go make music, or I should go skate, or I should go like draw or work on art or work on do something, not just like sit down and like do my economics all day. Like,
yeah, I know. That's why this break has been nice. Like I got this nice desk down here. Like I just like I just have freedom to like have like a whole day to just do what I need to do. Like
reminds me of summer.
Yeah, it's nice, but the narrative has shifted like for me. Like now I'm it's like I'm just like though it's just like the entrepreneur's like life, like you just like you're always working, like you're always like
doing something.
Yeah, I love it because it's just that's freedom.
That's really nice. I haven't found that groove yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, although like I do, like at the end of the day, there's just not like as much going on here. Like I'm ready to get back to Miami just because like it's just so much more like intense, like fast paced. Like like here I feel like I haven't been bored since I've been back at all.
Like, no, it's just like it. I know what you mean. It just like everything just feels kind of like, and I don't know if that's just because like sitting in my old room, it just feels like weird. Like I remember I was sitting here the other night and be like, oh, I feel like I'm in fucking high school. I'm like, I don't want to be in here.
Yeah, I know.
And I think being trapped back into that, like the confinement that you lived in for so long after you got freedom, it just feels weird. Everything feels kind of out of place and just like slow and not the same, I guess.
Yeah, you're a product of your environment. So like you put yourself in a boring, flat like environment. Like I'm not hating on Wisconsin, but like I'm just gonna say that Miami is like, when it comes to like weather and just like everything, it's a fucking huge city. Like everything, like it's just so much more like vibrant. Like there's like so much more lively.
Right. People go to vacation to Miami. They don't vacation in Wisconsin. Like
yeah. And when you kind of like when you're in that environment of being able to walk out the door at 7 a.m. and like it's like 80 degrees, like you're on vacation like every day, like it's like you feel like you it's really hard to be fucking sad when you're in Miami. Like it's just and it's the same way. I mean, you're gonna like it's the same way in fucking Colorado. Like
right. But that goes back to the whole product of your environment, I think that's really true.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's under our control too. It's like we're paying money for college, but and we have a choice of where to go. So like I'm just thinking like, yeah, I do have like the financial means to be able to do so, to be able to go to Miami. So like I'm gonna take advantage of that to the fullest like extent. Like I'm not gonna half-ass this life. Like I'm just gonna go
Right.
all in on it in all aspects. Like I'm never gonna be that. I'm never gonna get to a point where I'm just like so focused on like work and stuff that I don't have any time to like socialize or like drink or like have fun. Like fuck that. Like I always want to be able to just like do what I want to do and just like maneuver and move how I want to move like all the time.
Yeah. I think it's important to schedule yourself. That's part of the reason why I think it's so important to wake up early. Sleeping, like I could never sleep till like 2 in the afternoon and then wake up and start my day. Like I need to be up by at least like 9 o'clock so I can like, you know, get on shit. Like
Yeah.
otherwise, you're not gonna have time to like finish everything. And um I think it's definitely important that you feel that you need to be able to have time to, be free and not be so bogged down by like work and school and stuff all the time.
Yeah, and like being in like the dorms, like it's interesting because you like see like how other people like live and stuff, and like there's kids that would like sleep until like 5 or 6
Dude,
p.m. I'm
it's
like, how do
it's
you do that? Like,
my, even my roommate, like my suite mate, yeah. Like he definitely lives a very different lifestyle from me and Andy, and it's interesting to see, like especially like that up close, like living with somebody.
Mhm.
So
And the dangers of that is like you don't want to like be pulled into that like trap because like when you're definitely like who you surround yourself with, you become like a little bit more like them. Like so like
it's
you
what my parents always said to me in high school.
seriously you don't want to like if you're hanging around people that are complacent and people that would rather just sit around and like I don't know like fucking watch TV and shit rather than like making music or just like anything else like
Right.
you're gonna feel like that's okay because other kids think that that's okay.
Right. And then you find yourself a couple years down the road being like, what the fuck did I do for the last couple of years? I've just been like coasting,
Yeah, I know it's a
and
waste
you're like
of
wasting time. Yeah.
yeah time is everyone's most valuable asset like
It's definitely. And that's why, like I said, I wake up early and I can use it to my, the fullest extent.
mhm.
Because look at it, think about it. Like 2020 was weird as fuck. Like it just like went so fast. And
Yeah.
like I find myself at the end of most years being like, holy shit, this year's already over. But like this year especially with just like we
Can you hear me? You were like kind of breaking. I like lost you there for a second. All right. Sorry about that. What were we talking about?
um that is a great question.
All right, new topic.
Using time to the fullest
Switch
extent, I
gears.
think.
What?
Switch it up. So one of the other things I was thinking about was I remember when I saw you and Evan starting a ketchup company, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why? Of all things, of all companies you could start, of all the products you could make, why the fuck would you make a ketchup company?" And I didn't get it for a really long time. It took me probably until this year to like kind of like put it together and be like, "Oh shit, this makes sense," and they're doing it smart. And um, I think it's really important to do what's best for your future self, regardless of like what other people think and like the effects that it has on other people. Like, I think that I definitely would never have had the guts to been like, I'm starting a ketchup company. I'm gonna make shirts. I'm gonna hand out stickers. I'm gonna promote it. And I think that was I thought it was really cool that you didn't really give a shit and just did it anyways. And the same thing goes for my friend Caden. Like he started his own business. He makes that he has clothes, Trip on Clothes, and dude got his LLC, trademarked it all. Like regardless of what anybody else says. Kids, like, he's going to these people's shows, like, he's networking, like, people are trying to give him contracts, they're trying to get him to sign shit, and he's telling them no. People are asking, like, oh, yo, I've been making clothes for 4 years, I've been printing on Gildan hoodies, like, where do you get your stuff done? Like, I think it's really important that like I said, that you guys do what's best for yourselves, regardless of what anybody else says. And I wish that more people would recognize that, and try to live by that lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's just like you just gotta have the balls to just like take that leap of faith, like, and really just not care. Cause like, you know how many times like I got shit in high school, like, oh, Mr. Ketchup guy or the ketchup guy, whatever.
Uh, Mustard, please, and shit like that, or what? Like,
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I just didn't care because it was like, and what the thing about it is like me, Cade, and anyone, like when you start a business or like you do anything like outside of the norm, like you're gonna like just naturally learn so much, not only about like what you're doing, but also just like dynamics of like the world and like,
yep,
because
people around you and how they operate and shit.
yeah, because that really like just starting that like sophomore year, like really like helped me kind of get that I don't give a fuck about what people think attitude like early on. Like I was like forced into it. Like
Yeah, and honestly, the earlier you develop the attitude, the better off you are, honestly. And that would be like definitely something I would go and try to tell myself, like, when I was younger. Like, one thing I would.
yeah, people are just like worried to start. And I don't know why. I don't know if they're worried about like failing. I don't even know, to be honest. Like you hear about like how like 90% of startups like fail or something.
Yeah,
Like me and Evan were just talking about this on a podcast we did the other day. Like it has never come across our minds to quit. Like it just I can't even, we never even thought about it. Like,
exactly. Good.
and that like that's the way, like it's just like that's the mentality that you have to have. Like you have to be invested in it. And I keep saying like every day more that I'm like putting into this business like makes us want to quit less, because it's like we put this time into it.
Right. You put this much time and all this effort in.
Almost
Yeah.
3 years now. Like I'm not gonna just like throw that away. Like I would honestly, like, if the ketchup business completely went underground, like if it just like failed, and I don't, it's not gonna like there's no way for it to. But if it just like
Right.
completely failed, like right now, I'd still be happy that I did it, because I just like have such a different perspective of the world than I would have if I didn't try, if I didn't do it. Like,
Right. And I think even if it did fail, I think that, like, it's important to fail. It's super important to fail. Like, you learn the majority of your stuff from, like, when you're in a down position.
mhm.
You know, like, you gotta get like you gotta find yourself in that, like, that shitty spot and be able to be like, wow, this really sucks. I'm gonna do better for myself. And I think, I don't know what the statistic is, but like you said, 90% of startups fail. But I think that there's a pretty high percentage of, like, when people start like their second business after their first thing fails, they have a higher success rate with it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like, even if the ketchup business randomly goes under and people say, fuck condiments, I don't like them anymore,
Mhm.
you still, like, put 3 years into that. You went through the FDA certification, you talked to all these distributors, like, you learned, like, a lot. So that's what's important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and don't just do it because like you think it's cool. Like don't just
Right.
start a business because you think it's like I just like it's just like what I like doing. Like I from a young age, I just like making money, and like making money in like ways that you don't normally see. Like I'm not gonna, like I just told myself early on, like I'm never gonna be rich. Like I'm not, like I'm listening to rap and stuff. Like I'm listening to them talking about like making all these millions and stuff, and I'm like, it I even like in like middle school and stuff, I just naturally told myself, I'm like, okay, like that's gonna be me someday. Like I'm not necessarily
Manifest it.
not necessarily as a rapper, but like I'm just saying like I got this one
That lifestyle.
yeah, I'm gonna like make a lot of money. Like
Good. That's important. Like I never really, I don't know. I always had the mentality of I really want to make money, not I am going to make money. So I think it's important that like you kind of drilled that into your head. And I think a lot of times, like when you have that thought process of like, I am going to do this instead of I'm going to try to do this, it has a higher success rate.
and when you say it out loud too, like when you say
Yep.
it to people, like it almost like holds you accountable. Well, that kind of goes back to like this, like content creation. Like I don't know, I was watching I think I was watching like Johnny Manziel. He was on like a podcast and he was just saying like how he like would just like tweet these things like, oh, I'm gonna like win this game or whatever, and like he would, because like when you say it out loud,
Yeah. Yep. You got to hold yourself accountable to it.
yeah, like there's like I'm saying right now on the record, and me, I'm gonna look back on this 30 years from now, when I'm rich, like
Yep.
like you got to manifest it into your mind so that there's no other like option, and like
right. Because if you don't believe it yourself, there's no you basically have already failed. If you can't like believe in yourself to do something, sorry,
yeah.
you're not going to do anything then.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of on like a spiritual level too. Like you just gotta, like, obviously, like when we first started Catch Up Please, like the first couple months we were like looking at like BMWs and like cars like that we're gonna buy and stuff, and like
Hell yeah, yep.
it's just shifted so much. It's like I'm not thinking about that at all. I just tell myself when we sell Catch Up Please, I'm gonna buy a Tesla Model S. Like it's just
Smart man.
just the reality. But I'm just like, but when you make it, like it may to the common person, like what I'm saying may come off like kind of like cocky or like douchey, but at the same time it's like okay, like I'm doing what I want to do with my life. Like I just don't care. I'm at a point like mentally and spiritually that I really just don't give a fuck. Like I really
Good.
I really
Remember that.
know who the fuck I am, what I bring to the table, that I don't have to worry about like the little shit. And that's important to like get to that point, because once you're at that point, you're more productive, you're more creative than anything else, because you're not conforming to like what society thinks that you should be or what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely true. Like, I'm not super extreme with it, but like the fact that like, I pierced my ears, I pierced my nose, I got a hand tat, I plan to get many more tattoos, like going against like the grain and like, making yourself different is important and not giving a fuck. And the earlier you realize it, the better. So good for you. Cause a lot of people will spend their whole life trying to chase it and they'll never get it. Like it'll never happen for them.
Yeah, I know. And then once you're at that, like it's all about like, I mean, this is like spiritual, but like it's like you gotta like, it's all about like vibrations. Like you gotta keep like all like high vibrations, and you don't wanna, like if you surround yourself with like me and you having this conversation, like me and you are on this like high vibration just by the shit that we're talking
A
about.
wavelength.
And seriously, like so like you gotta like try to like keep that, and like you can do that. Like you manifest that shit if you become comfortable with yourself. Your thought, it's like weird. Like I feel like I'm on autopilot. Like I feel like I can just like go like take a shit, like not have to look. Like, I don't look at my phone anymore when I'm taking a shit, because I would literally rather just like hear what like my brain like wants me to like think. Like it's weird. Like you just get to the
That's
point, and like sometimes you'd rather listen to your own mind than music. Like
that's a point I haven't reached yet. Um,
yeah, well,
I think it's interesting though. No, it definitely is because like, you're not sitting there consuming somebody else's opinions. You're thinking about what I'm going to do next. You're thinking about how can I improve this? Where's this going to go? All this stuff. Right.
but
Yeah.
with music, I think like going back to like creating your own reality, like if you're constantly listening to like rap and stuff, that like rap brings value to you in like a way that other music doesn't. So like you can completely like change your mood based on the music that you're listening to. Like Austin and I were driving from my dad's here, and like whatever 2 nights ago, like when it was like snowstorm, like blizzard, and like
Yeah,
we were just trapping, like we were just like listening to
trapping.
we were just like listening to rap. Like you make like some people would be like, oh my god, I'm gonna go off the road. Like you make it you make it whatever situation that you want. Like you just like you don't
Yeah.
really let you create your world. You don't let the world just like be its I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Well, I think that like, I think most people would say that when they saw me in high school in any class or hallway, I pretty much always had a headphone in, at least once, like
Yeah.
pretty much any single time I could. And I spent a lot of time, listening to whatever my classes or whatever, like what they had to say, my teachers and stuff, and learn. But I spent most of the day, having that music on in the background in my head almost constantly. And like when I went home, like, yeah, I'd get in my car in the parking lot, I'd turn on music, I'd get home, I'd still listen to music. I listen to music all the time. I'm listening to like, what they're saying, because when you create music, and you create genuine music and not just talk about like, yeah, I fucked this bitch and then I drove off in my coupe. Like, you're not like, okay, cool, lucky you.
Yeah.
But you're not getting anything out of it when you write genuine music and you listen to people who are like having actual thoughts. And it's like it's more listening to Kendrick Lamar versus listening to Lil Pump,
Yeah.
right? What are you gonna get more out of?
100.
Like exactly, like listening to like what they have to say and their experiences and how they've dealt with it. Like I think it's super important. And I learn a lot through Instagram and Twitter and whatever about stuff like that. But listening to musicians, especially because they are successful, it's important.
Yeah. There's a lot of like hidden keys to success, like
Hmm.
like kind of hidden in music. Like
Hmm.
I just have like a notes page that I just like when I hear like a line or something that I just think is like incredible.
Yep.
Like I just put it down. I can actually I
Yeah,
might
because yeah, look it up. But like the whole thing about like rap is like it's poetry, like it's
exactly.
supposed to be.
Mhm.
So it's genuine thoughts.
But even just like the climb back, J. Cole, which is more important, getting or letting go? Like there's just little hidden like shit, like pieces of wisdom in
Yep. Especially.
you would never think.
Yeah. And, especially like, well, think about it. Like, we had this conversation last night. Who's at the top? You always hear people go Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole. Why are those three at the top? One, they're able to put out projects that sound different from each other, different songs. Um, Kendrick has all those different voices. All of his tapes kind of have like a different thing.
Mhm.
J. Cole puts out different stuff. He went from 2014 Forest Hills Drive to like what's that album called? He dropped it like 2 years ago.
For your eyes,
Um,
for your eyes only, or
no,
KO
that one was really good.
KOD.
Yeah, that one was all about drug abuse, right?
Yeah.
So these rappers at the top, they're able to take important subject matter, they're able to make it sound good, they're able to make it sound different, and they're actually like they're telling a story. They're all lyrical. They're like these rappers that people hold to the highest, regard, whatever, they're the best. It's because they're lyrical and they're talking about real stuff. They're not saying flex like ooh little pump, like it's like
Like that'll
it's
get you
relevant
somewhere.
information.
That'll get you somewhere, but like not the top. Yeah, like literally you throw around those names and like I just think like they're just like honest. Like they just like tell their story and stuff. And like one thing that I find interesting, like obviously like usually artists' first albums, like kind of their like life story, right? Like in a way.
Hmm.
And then I feel like it would be so much harder to create and like write lyrics and stuff like later on.
Well, the thing about that is that like from what I've noticed with the majority of artists, their first like tape or their like first official release, like maybe they've put out some stuff on SoundCloud before this or whatever, but and even when they do put out SoundCloud stuff, rappers like first real tape, it almost always becomes like goated, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the most real shit. It's the most like before they blow up, they're like their most genuine thing. You know, they found their own style, they found what they want to talk about. Like that's why like the majority of people are like, oh, I wish you made stuff like your old shit. But you know, from there they're growing. You know, that's why, and like that's the whole thing with Cardi. You know, like, oh, I wish you still made shit like self-titled. I wish you still made like Location and Woke Up Like This. It's important, you know, like especially after you drop that first album and you get your big, you know, whatever, that you keep adapting and that you keep changing. Because otherwise, if you put out the same project 5 times in a row, you're gonna fall off. You know, you put out a project once a year and it's the same shit you put out last year. Oh, cool, this is pretty good. And then like eventually it's gonna be like, okay, this is boring, right?
You think a lot of the
So
time, like
it's
once you get past that like initial phase of telling your story or whatever, a lot of the content that they talk about is like in real time. Like it's kind of they're
yeah,
continuing to tell their story, but it's like more like the present. Like it's more
yeah. And like so they'll either do that, or what I've noticed is like think about For Your Eyes Only by J. Cole. Like that tape is a lot about like other people's perspectives, right? And he's like telling their stories. So you know they're either talking about, oh, now I'm famous and I hate it, or like everybody's fake to me now. You know, like they're relevant subjects, but you know, I don't know. It's just not.
It's really to me, it's really interesting to just like kind of
I don't know. I just think it's important.
see like how different people live their lives. Like for example, like Young Thug Gunna, like the lifestyle that they've kind of just like put themselves in and like branded themselves as is just so different than
Right. Compared to like
used to.
like Logic or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, no, it's
but it's like I just think like that's what that like they just like love that lifestyle of like like clout and like that's just like what they naturally like. And it's funny, like I've seen like some Young Thug has gone like live with like his daughter, and then just like seeing him like talking to his daughter.
yeah.
So entertaining.
I know, seeing like it's interesting, you know, like seeing like rappers like talk to their kids like is super weird, because like you'll have them on your headphones to like, yeah, I fuck all these bitches and then I go do some drugs, like, and then they're like on the phone with their kids and they're like, hi, like, what?
Don't Future have like 12 kids or something? Yeah.
Dude, Future's got like I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now. I know it's got to be a lot. I know it's double digits at least. And honestly, like even with that, like how do you have time to like how do you like distribute your time between your career, your free time,
I don't think
and your children?
I don't think you do.
Oh, and then like he just like cash apps, like he just like cash apps like is like one of his baby mamas, like oh my god, because that's like, well, that reminds me of like, remember when he went to court a couple months ago and she was like, I need $400,000 a month, and he's like, I'll give you like 1,200, and they settled on him and they said that he was right.
What? Well, yeah,
like
she is right. She don't need 400K.
No, dude, it was crazy. He's currently dating 8 kids. He has 8 kids with 8 different women. No way. There's definitely more.
That's still.
He was currently dating rapper Dress Taylor. 8 kids with 8 different women.
I don't know if I should say impressive.
That's crazy. How many does Young Thug have?
Thug, I don't think that many. I don't think as many. Last time I checked. Well, do these rappers like are they just like are these rappers just like fucked up all the time?
Obviously, you know, there's ones that are. Like you look at like Lil Peep, definitely. You look at Young Thug, sometimes. Like sometimes Young Thug was definitely like fucked up. Same with Future. Like, think about it. Like, Future raps about sipping lean all the fucking time. But do you think if Future spent his whole day, he woke up and just like started pounding codeine, that he'd be able to go to the studio and like make enough music? Maybe
Well,
it's possible.
that was the funny thing. What's it, Sauce Walker?
Yeah.
Like in his interview, like that he was talking about like how you like need to like sip lean, like he's because they asked him about like these
You don't
rappers,
need to do any drugs.
and then he just like down like a whole cup like right all at once. He's like what you need to understand is that you gotta drink your water, like you gotta exercise. Like I'm thinking these rappers like exercise. I know Wiz Khalifa. I'm a big
Drake and shit. Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, you can wake up and work out every fucking day, but if you slam a pint of lean like all like a day, like you are not like gonna be able to like outpace that. You are like think about it. Like I don't know if you saw it, but Famous Dex just went to rehab because he had like a bunch of drug addictions that he's working on, and that's super good. Like he kind of fell off because it took a hold of him and he wasn't able to get past it. And I think that a lot of rappers that does happen to. And like I think a lot of them fall off because of it, and you'll see like overdoses and shit. And I guess that's kind of that's like a whole different thing. But I think a lot of them
part of the creative process.
Huh?
Do you think it's definitely part of like the creative?
I don't know if I think for some people it is. I think for other people it's just part of their lifestyle, and it just kind of becomes, it just becomes a part of their music.
And why is that the case for rappers but not like anyone else? Like,
well, think about it. Country music is usually like that's a lot of country music is about drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not in the same sense, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also it could be just, due to the nature of the songs. Obviously, a country music sounds different than rap music.
Yeah.
I guess
I just think
maybe
alcohol,
it's just
alcohol, like weed, is just kind of like overly demonized, like by society.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting to have conversations with older people about weed, because they definitely grew up in a different time. You could talk to pretty much anybody our age and like they'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. But when you talk to older people, adults, they definitely have a different perspective on it, just due to like how the world felt about it when they were growing up and stuff like that.
I look at it kind of like from like a health perspective. Like, I mean, like I like, yeah, drinking's probably not like the best for you, like healthy wise, but I feel like if you're like,
Neither's a Big Mac.
yeah, seriously, like if you like eat healthy, like you're healthy because that's what you're doing. That's what you're like consuming. You drink that water, like you're gonna like, it's like you gotta drink that water if you want to be able to walk on it. But yeah, no, it's just like it's all like balance. Like you got fine time. Like you don't have to be successful. You don't have to just like only work and like never have fun. Like it's like
Right. And I think a lot of people think that. And I think for one, it's hard for most people to even reach that level of like work, 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 work. And two, once they hit that, to even like realize that I need like free time.
yeah.
But I think the whole thing that can be said about literally anything is that everything in moderation is really just what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to the thing of like, obviously, like I said, like, yeah, Future, or they're waking up, drinking lean and shit or whatever throughout the day and like doing their thing. But I read the Gucci Mane autobiography for my English class, for my last English class, I think. And he talked about Definitely what's interesting. What's interesting about Gucci Mane is that he grew up in a different time. That he definitely grew up in a different time, but he blew up in a different time than we're used to. It's weird with social media now because when Drake blew up in 2010, yeah, like Facebook was a thing, but it wasn't so mass consumed.
Mhm.
Um, like they were still like handing out CDs and shit. Now it's like, oh, swipe up, check out my mixtape. You know what I mean? Um, Gucci Mane talked about how he grew up in Atlanta and he was like, selling drugs for a while. And then, he got into rapping and then he got too heavy into drugs and it fucked
Does
him
he like
over. And
go into depth? Like, does he tell like
yeah,
anecdotes?
he literally tells his entire like life story.
Yeah.
And he talks about how, he got into rapping, like then he was talking about like different beefs he was having with other rappers and then how drugs, he'd get arrested for some shit. He'd be there for like a year, a couple months or whatever. But then I think it was like I don't remember if he might have got locked up in like 2014 or some shit. Because I think he got out in 2017. He got sent to federal prison, and I think after that he realized that like I don't want to be selling drugs and just like being on drugs all the time because it's obviously it's like if I keep doing it, I'm just gonna keep going back to jail. Like he literally went to jail like 6 times in the book. And he like it took him to like once he got to federal prison to be like, fuck, I need to like balance it, everything in moderation. I can do some drugs and rap, but when I prioritize getting fucked up over my career and progressing and like, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like reading those like autobiographies. Like I read Matthew McConaughey's book Green Lights, and like just like kind of hearing these like famous like successful like people like go into depth on their like life story. Like and the thing is, what was interesting about his book is he kind of went in depth. Like he came from like a working class like white family in Texas. Like it was somewhat relatable, and like he wrote it so well because he would take like kind of what would normally be like normal situations, like normal like everyday situations, but he like went really in depth, like, and he really, the way that he wrote it and the way that he described it, basically the whole premise is like of the book is like in like everything. So it's called Green Lights. So in life, like we're faced with like red light, yellow light, green lights, and like basically trying to figure out how to like limit the number of red lights, or to like look at a red light in your life as like a green light. So like he would look at like a shitty situation, but
Mm-hmm.
understand like his dad would like his never like abused, but like he sometimes like would like physically like punish them, but he viewed it as a very positive overall thing because of kind of how that made him who he is today.
Yeah, and like that's kind of like the whole like nature versus nurture thing. Like it's part of you know how you are naturally as a person um is different from like, well, I guess it goes hand in hand. Like the way you're raised and the way like your parents, treat you, um, is definitely like it ties into like how you are as a person naturally forever. Like, Matthew McConaughey is a big ass celebrity. Like, yeah, dude makes hella money. He does commercials, fucking TV shows, books and shit.
Mhm.
But you know, obviously he holds values that he was taught at a young age, and that's, I think it's important to definitely like stay true to yourself.
Yeah, and to understand that, like, yes, right now, like he's like a big celebrity and stuff, but he wasn't always. Like he was just a normal
Right.
ass kid. Like
Yep.
he was like just like the like jock, like the popular kid at his high school. Like he was just like a kid. And um like and like kind of reading that like shifted my perspective to like if I'm writing a book on my life, like And if I'm writing a book about like being like 18 or whatever, like I want that book to be fucking interesting. Like I want it to be a good fucking read, because I'm like I kind of tell myself like every few days I just kind of write in like a composition notebook, like just like brain dump, just like whatever I kind of think. And I just like naturally am inclined to like just kind of write my like life story. And I know that I'm building right now, like I've gotten up to like freshman year, so I just got to talk about high school a little bit, but I know I'm going to end up present day, and like the book is literally still being written. Like we are literally writing the autobiography of our lives now, and we can choose what that content is, like by our actions literally today, like literally now.
I think it's kind of hard, to like kind of do that, because then you're like it's hard to see it in present time, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, it's hard, but once you, I don't know, like once you start to get some traction, it's easier. Like once you start to, I feel like for me, like once I started to kind of, whenever I get on a phone call and I'm talking to someone about ketchup, please, and like everyone's always like super like impressed with it, like I'm like it makes me feel good, like it makes me feel like this is it, man. So like with like, I mean, is music kind of the number one thing that you're kind of like looking to pursue personally, like right now?
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of in a very in between situation right now. Um, I think I kind of got caught up in just high school, and the 4 years kind of just went by, and like I found myself in a position of like shit. I kind of like didn't really think about like this ending. And now I'm just kind of just trying to piece everything together. Like I don't know if it's necessarily the main thing I'm pursuing. It's definitely just something I'm trying to do in my free time. And I've been doing it for a while. I enjoy it. I love music. I would love to do something with music, whether it's me talking about music, whether it's me making music, whether it's being a manager of a musician, something in the music industry, um, or something in art. But those two things kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of rappers wearing, blah blah blah's merch and like their clothing company, and like it kind of like becomes part of like their image. So it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of working on like multiple things.
Have you thought about creating a YouTube channel or content in some form other than music, other than like the music itself?
Honestly, not really, because I don't really know what kind of content I would find myself putting on like a YouTube channel like this. Like
Like
I don't think I
breaking down like whole lot of red, like literally anything. Like
I mean I could, but then like I don't want to be one more person you see on your YouTube feed with some fucking stupid clickbait title and some like
then don't
fire
do that.
emojis.
I'm not doing that. Like
That's
I'm
true.
like
That's true. I mean, I guess it turns into like whatever you make it.
you create your own value. So like if you want to work in music, like fucking create content about music, and then if you end up wanting to go work for a company, like you or like some talk show or something, like I was talking to Ryan Kett, and like he's like obviously big into sports and stuff, and he was like, dude, I would imagine I would love to work for like Barstool or something. And then we started talking about him creating a YouTube channel about like sports, and like I thought like, if he's basically creating like that YouTube channel, like is gonna be so much more valuable to like a potential employer like Barstool for like his
right. So it
services.
gives them something like to,
Yeah,
it's something, it's a
right.
portfolio really.
Exactly. It's gonna be so much more valuable than like a resume. Like
Yeah.
literally shit that he has created. Like so like every time you post a video, like you're creating more value. You're making yourself more valuable. Like
Yeah. I think that if I were to do it, do you know who Anthony Fantano is? You
no.
ever heard? No. So like, you know, you go on YouTube, there's fucking thousands of people who will drop a review on Whole Lotta Red and whatever. Like, but there's this one guy named Anthony Fantano, and he, from what I've seen, like watching his videos compared to like some random dude who's like whatever, you know, fire emojis, like, was it good? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like the type of person to be like, facts, big bad bro. Like that kind of like they're doing it for the clout. They're not doing it because they actually give a fuck like about the music and the culture and the scene. But Anthony Fantano, he'll go in there and he'll break down like everything in the song. He'll talk about the synths. He'll talk about like the way the musical pan left or right. He'll talk about the way the drums come in. Like he'll go down into like actual things instead of like just being like, oh bro, this flow is whack on this beat. I can't believe, bruh, why would he put fucking Future on this song? Where's Uzi? Like he's like talking about like actual things, and he's talking about like, you know, like the real components of the music and what makes it, whether you know it's made well or not. And I think that if I were to do it, I'd want to do it more in that direction rather than just like some stupid like there's no point to my opinion because you could hear this at any fucking party you went to from anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about like the whole like logistics of like um pattern and like creation of music. I kind of just like I have my own thing.
Do what you like. I would just like the sooner you start, like you're gonna regret like what like if you do end up doing it and it ends up like being successful, like you're gonna be like, shit, I wish I started this earlier. So that's why I'm like, just start it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you take that
That's smart.
step, like you literally take that step of just like creating the channel and creating like the first video. I don't know, maybe the first video is something like my top 10 favorite albums, and you go into depth on why I like some or like artists, like I don't know, but like once you kind of take that first step and you go through the motions and you go through the process of recording and uploading and everything, like you're just gonna have confidence to like want to keep doing it. And it's like it's like uh you get intrinsic motivation from it because like you see your like subscribers starting to go up. I have like 26 subscribers to this, but I don't care because I'm starting to like it's starting to grow and I see it, even if it's a
Oh,
couple.
because you're big, because you're big.
I know I'm huge, but
Yeah,
it's
you
like
got like
but it's like I don't care if that's I don't care if it's no subscribers, first of all, but if that's one subscriber, it's like I'm making content for that one person. They're watching my videos, like that's cool to me. Like
they're getting something out of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. And then
So
you just like keep creating honest content that like the people like. And who knows, maybe you can
right, because you're creating something for yourself. Like you're creating, you know, that image for yourself.
yeah.
So that
Yeah,
is important.
exactly. Like it's like this is like got to build your legacy. Like this is what is going to be left behind like when you're dead. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so like
Right. Yeah. I definitely don't want to fucking just like exist for 80 years, then just like nothing. Like I definitely want to be able to put something out into the planet and Earth and the people that like that lasts. And I think like to me, that's kind of like the meaning of life, you know, like providing and growing stuff for like future generations.
Mhm.
Like I don't think that like I think life as a whole is not so much about yourself. I think it's more about like the general good of mankind and what you put out for them and what you can provide and what you contribute
Mhm.
to the betterment of people and humanity.
Mhm. And we have all the platforms to do so.
Exactly, especially now.
Yeah, I know. And
It's easier than ever. Like
keep getting better. Like it's only going to keep getting easier.
right. Yeah, you go to fucking Best Buy, buy $100 microphone, some headphones, and download some free software, and you can start uploading music to SoundCloud. Like
Literally.
exactly.
Like this
So
podcast, like you don't like I have my computer. Like that's all I
yeah,
need.
I'm on my laptop.
That's all you need. Like you can the content, like people get so wrapped up in like, oh, I need like the expensive camera and like the
Oh yeah, I need all the lighting and shit. It
literally
doesn't matter if you don't have like
like it's you're like me just going on like Zoom like by myself and just like recording myself talking is still like better than nothing. Like it's not like it's horrible quality. Like I'm gonna
Right.
and look at it like content over like honestly quantity over quality to start, like just so you kind of get your feet wet with it a little bit.
Well, I think it's important that like, yeah, cool, you can have the best fucking camera, you can have the best lighting, you could be in a goddamn Gucci fit. It wouldn't fucking matter if you're putting out shit content and you're not actually providing something for an audience or even yourself. Like, you need to be able to like that core foundation of what you're providing needs to be there. Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And just continuing to go like more and more in on that. And then, I mean, once you kind of create like a name for yourself, then you can potentially partner with other people and like you could do like a interview with some big names, like potentially.
Right.
Like
And I think it's important to
respect.
I think it's super important to collaborate with others. Like I said, like that honestly goes into like I think my main point for this entire podcast has just been like how important communication is.
Mhm.
It's like it's so important. And I think that like when you collaborate with other people, especially like within music, you know, you definitely get a different perspective. You know, like my friend was saying that, now that I'm like working with these people and like they make music, I make clothes and I kind of like whatever. And like, but I'm in that crowd and I see them recording. It's interesting to me to see like other people's artistry and see their way of doing things, I guess, because it helps you develop your own too at the same time. Like you can have your own thing, but learning from other people's how they like I don't know, learning how other people do stuff is just important
Yeah.
because it helps better you, I guess.
I feel like I try to like with like my parents and with basically everyone, like I try to kind of look at people objectively, and judgment is sometimes looked at as like horrible, but like if you're judging someone and like someone is like clearly like not very good in a certain area, like there's nothing wrong with like thinking that to yourself and like thinking, okay, like so and so
Right.
who I spend a lot of time with isn't that good in one area. I'm going to take all the good that I can from them. Like I'm just going to like, make myself better off of their good stuff and then forget about the
Mhm.
bad. So like literally you keep on like them high vibrations. Like if you
Right. Take what you can out of it.
exactly. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you just, it becomes natural when you kind of develop that like mentality of like, I only want to hear positive things. Like
Mhm.
I just only want to hear that, and anything else I just naturally tune out. Like
Haven't got to that point yet, but it does sound like a
it's fun.
good way to like live. But
Fun.
yeah.
It's fun, man. Oh man. Well, it was really good having you on. I think this was actually pretty
Yeah,
long.
I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I have your information, so I'm just gonna stop this and then here.